Okay, so a while ago, I did a video kind of like what I'm planning to do today. I just drew a random weapon for FTL, and it was just because some people had been talking about drawing weapons, and I figured, because I've drawn so many for Multiverse, I figured I would record myself drawing one, just kind of the process. And it turns out people thought it was really helpful. And so that was just seat of my pants. This is also seat of my pants. So this time I'm doing it again, but I don't know, a little bit higher production value, I guess, with my voice this time. I don't really upload videos in general, but I don't also use my voice usually. I don't really have a plan. I was just going to draw a couple weapons and talk through my process with how I do them. Software I use is GIMP, GIMP 2.10. It's not like specifically made for pixel art, but I mean most software has the same tools. It's free, and I think it's useful. So this is what most of the Multiverse team uses. So, I have a burst laser here, nothing special. I was thinking through a couple weapon ideas. These aren't going to be used for anything. Obviously, I random things to draw to go through the process. So I'm going to try and do something, I don't know, just like a quick fire, like rapid fire laser, I guess. Kind of like Captain's Edition. Auto lasers. Like I said, not used for anything. It's just, I don't know, a thing to draw. First things first here. You'll notice that if I just color pick, if you're using GIMP and you have the pencil tool selected, you can hold Control and click, and that will grab the color for you. And then if you click over here, you can see the color. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. So you'll notice the outline color is actually this kind of blue-gray color. It's not black. Some pixel art does this. Most FTL sprites do this. A couple Multiverse ones do, just by mistake, because sometimes we color pick and don't think about it. It's fine, like it works. The problem is, if you have like a really dark blue, or any color, dark red, you can kind of see the color's actually darker than the outline, which doesn't look good. So I would recommend always make sure you're using pure black before you start. So, oftentimes when I draw a weapon, I start with the canvas of that weapon. Canvas being like the space that you draw in, the empty space. I'm going to say a lot in this. This is, like I said, seat in my pants. So I start with the canvas of another weapon oftentimes. In this case, though, I'm just going to have a big empty canvas, and then I'll walk you through like sizing it correctly. When I approach drawing a weapon, I usually do it in parts. So there's not like a perfect method to the madness. It's just do however the idea comes to you. So if I'm drawing a weapon kind of like a burst laser, I'm going to start with, I guess, this kind of middle area. If you have like an idea in your head, that helps, but, I just forgot to see the outline there. If you have an idea, that helps, but most of my weapons are just completely improv in the moment, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, just kind of making shapes until something works out. You might have to redraw a lot, that might be painful. Just be sure you are happy with how the weapon looks, and you know how it's going to animate, because you do have to animate it. Before you actually do the animations, or else you will go through a lot of effort and have to undo all of that if you need to make changes. And the more complicated the animation is, the more frames you have to fix, which is a massive pain in the ass. So anyways, so I'm going to start with the base here. Like I said, it's just kind of like a rapid fire weapon, I guess. So I don't know how much of this is going to bother narrating, because it kind of just like disrupts the process. It helps to have either the color palette or another weapon next to you so that you can color pick. If the weapon has glows, like see how here there's a glow, kind of, you have to be careful, because if I color pick like this pixel, you'll notice it's not right. I get this like greenish color. Oh, it's more like, yeah. So you can see, there you go. You can see this is just completely not right. So you have to be careful if you're grabbing from the glows. In fact, nah, it's fine. I have this already, so I'll just use this one. Okay. So let's see. Actually, I do need to. Actually, I have here. Yeah, I'll just grab this. I'm not gonna bother editing this, so you get to see all the fumbles. If you need to move things around, there's a couple ways you can do it. What I typically do is rectangle select, cut, paste, and then you can just drag it around. And then the control click color pick trick does work with fill bucket as well as the pencil tool, which is handy. So some people start with just the outlines. I like to kind of fill in with color a bit. It helps kind of piece together roughly how the weapon's going to look. It's not perfect, but if you hold shift using the pencil, I'm sure most of you probably know these tricks, but I'm sure maybe some don't. If you hold shift, you can do straight lines rather than just kind of freehanding it. Which is very helpful. Obviously, Control Z undoes things. Control Y redoes things. That's like typical keyboard shortcuts. I'm sure most people know that already. Just a lot of trial and error, I guess. Just, I'll try this thing, I'll try this thing. How does this look? You might wonder, how do I know, what shapes to go for? I don't. I've drawn so many weapons that I have kind of a rough idea of what is going to end up looking right in the final result. And when I go to shade, that's when things, a lot of changes happen. Because I realized that this would look better shaded this way, blah, blah, blah. Personally, I find drawing weapons to be kind of like a therapeutic process. They're just small, simple pixel art. Nothing too fancy to them. And that kind of helps me. It's just relaxing, I guess. Usually I have a video on the background. Obviously, I'm not going to have a video on for this. Put Subway Surfer gameplay footage in the bottom corner. I think I'm gonna have probably the multiverse title track playing in the background for this. It's a good just ambient track, which I can't hear, by the way, if I am playing that, obviously. So I'm just doing this in silence, which is kind of boring, but sacrifices must be made. As you see, I'm kind of shading as I go. I don't always do that, but if I just kind of want to see the shape of the weapon, that's really when I do it. If you want shading tricks, I mean, I don't really have anything particular. When I get to really shading the weapon, I'll break down my thought process more, but for now I'm just kind of seeing how it looks. I'm trying not to get too fancy with this, but maybe something a little interesting that breaks the mold, I guess. You might notice, of course, I'm drawing the weapon not in the orientation they appear in game. This is how all FTL weapons are on the sprite sheet. They point up. The lighting comes from the top right, so that's why the light shade goes here. Obviously, in game, it's going to be rotated. It's rotated and flipped, but you're always going to draw it like this, where the mount is on the left side, the barrel faces up. That's just how it is. No extra effort on the programming quote or air quote side. It's not really programming; it's just XML, just not programming. But there's no extra effort on that side. The game just automatically does the rotations for you, so that's nice. I'm not going to be. This is not my finest moment for commentary. Like I said, I'm just winging this, so hopefully this isn't tremendously boring. It's kind of sawtoothed. I mean, there isn't a whole lot of complexity to FTL weapons. I would say, especially the vanilla ones. In fact, I have here. This is a comparison of vanilla weapons to multiverse weapons. You'll see, here. The difference, I think, is tremendous. Vanilla is very flat. A lot of edges aren't shaded. You have these kind of weird. I didn't change the shape too much, but you do kind of get this weird mechanical gunk with sometimes it throws in an extra color, like this color here, that doesn't exist in any other weapon, which is a big no-no. Multiverse weapons, when I redrew them, very beveled, lots of shading. I think it makes them stand out more, have more a 3D effect. I know some people don't like it, but personally, I think it improves the art style a lot. I know I'm biased because I drew them, so, I'm allowed to think highly of my art, okay? I will post these. I don't know how many people. I know I mostly just upload the multiverse music to my channel. and like that one live stream I did. I don't know how many people watch my channel who aren't on the Discord. I'm going to assume no one watches the channel, or at least is subscribed to the channel, who doesn't know what multiverse is. If you don't, I'm sure you're very confused what I'm rambling about. If so, welcome. Multiverse is a mod for a game called FTL. You should just look it up, because I'm not going to bother explaining it here for like the one person who needs the explanation. I remember what I was saying. I lost my train of thought with that. Oh yeah, I know I mostly just upload music to the channel. So I'm hoping this helps someone at least. And yeah, I'll post. I don't remember how many. I don't know how many people watch the channel that aren't on the Multiverse Discord. If you aren't, I recommend joining. That's where most of like activity about Multiverse happens. The main Multiverse community. There's like a modding channel in there called the Shipyard, which is where people make add-ons and talk about just FTL modding, art they drew for FTL, stuff like that, fan art, whatever. So I'm gonna post any weapons I draw for this video there, and they'll be free to use for anyone. I mean, I don't need the credit, but you know, I prefer credit. But I don't really care. I'm gonna draw these in a few minutes. So, but these will be available for anyone who wants them. In the case that they even turn out good, which I hope they do, because they don't, it kind of defeats the point. When it comes to the mounts on weapons, you can get wacky with them. You can also be pretty bog standard. It's just a lot of like, kind of like I said, explained, just a lot of like mechanical gunk. We typically refer to them as greebles. Grebels, I don't know how people pronounce them. I always say greebles. Which are just kind of like, quote-unquote, unnecessary detail, usually in like sci-fi, where you just kind of have like a bunch of, like I said, mechanical gunk on the weapon. And that is especially true of the mount, which, like I said, is just kind of throw shit on there and hope that it looks good. You'll notice I'm shading as I go. So what I try to do is any surface, I try to bevel it. So you don't want, I mean, this is a preference thing, but if you want to match the Multiverse style, don't ever have flat edges like this. Always have the light, whether it's light or dark. If you do have a flat edge, like say here's like the middle color being used. The reason why that's flat is because this part here is angled away. That's just a thing you kind of eyeball. Nothing particular to it. I think this weapon's almost done. I said this was going to be like rapid fire laser, so I don't really need because you know you have like the vanilla lasers, they have like the dash things that represent how many shots they have. Don't really need that here. Maybe do like maybe something like that. Like an inset bit. Don't be afraid to have, like here, this would imply, this bit here that implies that it's angled again towards the light, which makes this section here kind of like inset. One thing you don't want to do is you never want to have bits that aren't outlined like that. I know in a lot of pixel art styles you do that, but you never do that in FTL weapons. That's just like the unspoken rule that everything is outlined. I don't want to sound, elitist about the art, but at least with Multiverse, I take great pride in everything being consistent in style, whether it's the Multiverse style or matching the vanilla style, depending if we wanted to change from vanilla or not. And in that case, I think consistency is key. That's what matters. It's not about whether it looks, obviously you want it to look good. It's not about whether it looks good. It's not about, again, you want it to look good. But like in terms of like skill, it's not about if you're super skilled. It's not about, it's just about consistency. If you're consistent with your art, then you will improve, I think. As long as you're not like intentionally holding, I don't know what I'm saying. As long as you're not intentionally holding yourself back. I shouldn't try to throw in a fake motivation, not fake, but I shouldn't try to motivational gunk in this video. Okay, so one thing I do is, because the weapons are drawn rotated like this, I oftentimes turn my head. Obviously I can't really show that on a video, but I turn my head and look at the weapon and imagine in the game. It's not perfect, but I think for sake of not spending forever on this one weapon, I will call it here on this one for this part. So I'm going to get rid of the reference, move this over, and then I'm going to copy it. On your keyboard, you can use the arrow keys to move stuff around, and you can use shift arrow keys to make it move around even faster. I realized one thing I did forget. This top part on lasers is usually a shade down, like that. Yeah. I can make this darker. Okay, I think that looks fine. Okay. Copy this a couple times, go up to image, canvas size. I just make it really, really huge, just for now. I'll show you a trick for getting it to like crop right. If you have a bunch, you can copy them all at once. Okay, so here I'm going to go red, and then green. I'll spell these for now. Okay, so some FTL weapons, they would have like a charging animation, like frame 1's this, frame 2's this, frame 3's this, blah blah blah. Other ones have like a glow, and you can mix and match. Like you can have like a charging animation and a glow. For this weapon, I'm gonna do a glow because it's just one bar. So you have your base, which is the unpowered weapon. You have, actually I don't need this frame, I just realized, because it's going to have the glow. And I'll explain what a glow is when I get to it. So you have the charged, or the unpowered frame, which if you have a glow and no charging animation, is going to use this with the glow over it. Unpowered, if you have charging and charging animation, it's going to come before this frame. This is the charged frame, so this is what it looks like when the weapon's fully charged but not firing. And everything after that's going to be the firing animation. So for this, the barrel's just going to go into the gun, like you see here on the burst laser. It just kind of goes down. So nothing like anything special. When you're doing rectangle select, You can do a big select. You can hold Shift select to add to it, and you can do Control select to remove from it, which is very helpful. So I'm gonna select just a bit. It's typical, not a rule, that when a laser animation like is shrinking, it goes down by 2 pixels each time. Again, not a rule, but that's just typically what looks smooth at FTL's like default frame rate. I'm gonna copy that over. Make sure we get the shading there. I don't know how far this needs to go in. I guess I'll do one more, I guess. 2. Okay. And I'm also going to have the like actual like muzzle. 2. 2. I'll just do it again. 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 2. I guess I called it at the right time for this last round. 2, 2. Oh, I definitely scanned it there, I think. It doesn't matter. Because it plays so fast, you won't even notice if there's like a small mistake like that. Okay, so for most lasers, when it comes like back up in the animation, it just plays the same frames in reverse. Sometimes you can make it go faster. Here, it doesn't really matter. But you want to keep the light on usually, especially if it fires multiple shots, because it's going to play this animation multiple times in a row without the charging animation between them. So what I do, I go up here, and I do color select. This is how I'm going to make the lights glow. This is not the charge glow I mentioned earlier. This is just a little effect. You can notice the lights glow on the weapons. Filter, light and shadow, drop shadow. Oh, I have green. So when I use in GIMP, assuming you're using GIMP, it's filters, light and shadow, drop shadow legacy. Drop shadow, this is for 2.10. Drop shadow legacy is 2.8 version, which is like significantly better. You'll notice drop shadow looks like this. The issue with this drop shadow is it doesn't create the glow on a new layer, whereas drop shadow legacy does. You want to make sure there's no offset. Blur radius can be 3 to 5. I'm going to do 5, I think. Opacity 100. The charge color in Multiverse is green. The charging color is red for lights, for just like regular weapons like lasers. A lot of resizing doesn't matter. I just check it, because I always do. Hit OK. And there goes your glow. Actually, I'm not going to do 5. I'll tell you why in a second. Do 3. Yeah, that looks fine. So, you'll notice how these frames are touching each other. The reason why I do that, I mean, I do it just for space, because why not? But if you do have the frames touching each other, you have to be careful with the glow. Because if the glow bleeds into the next frame, it will show up on that frame. Vanilla FTL actually does this with a lot of its beams, which is a mistake I'll never forgive them for. I can't believe that error exists. So just make sure you're careful with your glows. If you need a big glow, then you're going to have to spread your frames out with a little bit of space between them. It's not a huge deal. It's just be careful. Okay, so now I have this. You'll notice the lights on the glow's on a new layer. I can toggle it on off. Go with image. Do crop the content. That's image, crop the content. Again, that just, as you can see, it snips the canvas to fit the weapon. If your glow does, if your glow does bleed, like here, if it was bleeding, it would go past this, and then crop to content wouldn't fit to the right size, which is one way that you can catch a bleeding glow. Yeah, I'm gonna just save this as fast laser. Okay, so that's that. So I'm gonna do. I know people can see this. This is just. I posted this in the ship here. It's the ship. Don't worry about it. I guess I'll do a missile. Yeah, I'll do a missile. So I'm gonna just use this canvas just because I have it open. Oh, sorry, I forgot to show the glow. Right, I'll do that. So the charge glow is just like a thing that glows brighter as the weapon charges. So it's always the size of one frame. You go image, fit canvas to selection. So if you didn't catch that, I took the select tool, I selected the size of one frame, image, fit canvas to selection, and now I have it like this. If this like yellow layer border, this yellow line here represents the size of the layer, which can be bigger or smaller than the canvas. If it bugs you, you can go layer, crop the content. Oh, sorry, hold on. Let me delete the. Wait, hold on. Was it not? You're clearly not. Okay, you can also do layer to image size. That works as well. Okay. So I'm going to grab red, which is the charging color for lights. Fill that. I'm going to color select the light. I'm going to do Control-I on my keyboard, which inverts the selection. Hit delete, and voila, gone. Drop shadow. This I'm going to do red. Everything else is the same. And now I have the glow. Very, very small effect, very simple. And I'm going to save that as fast laser glow. That's all it takes. Nothing like complicated. Okay. So now the missile. I'm just going to make it bigger again, just so I have space. And I'm going to grab Hermes. I think that's Hermes. Maybe that's, is that, oh no, that's Hermes, right? Yeah, that's Artemis. Okay. So, once again, make sure your outline's black. Really, at some point, you should go in and fix that. So, for missiles, actually, is that the, that might not be the right color. Hold on. Weapons. Let me just make sure I have the Hermes correct. Oh, that is the color. That's weird. I'm not going to use the Hermes. I don't know why it has that like weird orangey color. Where is Hades? Isn't it, that's the, okay, I guess that's the color I used. I don't know why I used that color. Ugh. Okay, well, I gotta live with that mistake then. I'm not happy about that. I'll just plop this in because I have it. Okay, let me check Nyx real quick, because I know Nyx is the last, yeah, that's, okay. I'm gonna grab all three of these and just put them in here so I have them for reference. Okay. So as you'll notice, The Hermes and the Hades are a bit old. The Nyx has more of like the newer shading style, with the amount of beveling. Maybe I'm the only one who can notice, but I notice. See, what's a missile idea we could draw? And this isn't something you can make in FTL, but how about just like a cluster missile that like would break off into more missiles? I don't know, it's just inspiration for a thing to draw. So I'm gonna start with like the tube. So one thing, of course, with a missile is it fires a missile projectile. So you want to make sure that you have enough space on the weapon for however big your missile projectile is going to be. And you also want to make it kind of this rounded-ish shape. A lot of this, it's going to be carried by the shading. Because obviously this doesn't imply anything round, nor does this, without shading. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna start with just kind of getting the size of it down, and then for me, this isn't necessarily going to be true for all respectful artists in FTL. But for me, the biggest step in making a weapon when I'm drawing is whatever helps me visualize in my head what my end goal for the weapon is what I want to go for. Because usually, like I said, I improvise with everything. I never have like really a plan going in. Obviously, usually I know what kind of weapon I'm drawing, but I don't know what I kind of want in the look or the feel of the weapon. So the whole point of my process is to just get things down on the canvas until I have an image in my head of where I want this weapon to go. So with that said, I don't know where this weapon's gonna go, but hopefully we find out. Okay, I think I see the issue here. I'm trying too much to force like a weird shape, and I should just go with what I know works. Step down a bit, meeting point, I'd never be afraid when you're drawing a weapon to just do what has been done before. There's no pressure to make every weapon something unique. You just want it to be recognizable. That's the key thing. That's really the gameplay purpose of all this art, is so that you know what a weapon is and what it does at a glance. Now, not every idea, not every gimmick can be conveyed perfectly through just a sprite. And that's fine, but you want it so that it makes sense in someone's head, that once they know, okay, this weapon fires cluster missiles, that every time they see it from then on, they can easily remember, okay, this is the cluster missile. No questions asked. That makes sense to me. And if you've achieved that, and to my earlier point about consistency, then you've made a good weapon. And you don't need to stress about, you know, is it perfect? Is it, you know, a masterpiece? It doesn't need to be. Because ultimately, you know, this is video game art. FTL is not like a super artsy game. So if it looks cool, that's great. And there's nothing wrong with that. But never sacrifice the ultimate function of the art as an element of game design in pursuit of making something cool. And also don't stress if it doesn't look cool, but it serves its purpose well. That said, I still don't really know what I'm doing here. I kind of made like a Squidward missile. Sometimes I feel like, for those of you who don't know, I mean, I've shared these stories millions of times, and it's not necessarily the best place to archive them, but I've been modding FTL since, I don't know, like 2016. I've been modding it for a long time. Too long, frankly, for a game this old. But I started off pretty hot garbage with weapon art. And so, I mean, I can't really easily pull up an example right at this moment of old weapons I've drawn, but trust me, they were garbage. Like the kind of stuff that I, you know, see a lot now and criticize. No, I mean, obviously, you know, when I criticize it, it's because I hope people can improve. The reason why a lot of my old art sucked is because I was just being lazy with it. Not that, you know, all bad art is out of laziness, but I didn't really want to take the time to draw it, because when you're starting out doing art, it does take a long time to draw things to the desired effect. Especially, you know, if you're not immediately amazing at it. It's going to take a long time, it's going to be frustrating, and it's very easy to fall into the trap of, this is good enough. And, I mean, obviously, you know, you can't spend forever on everything you draw, but you should never settle for less if you know you're capable of more. So when I see people cutting corners that they don't need to cut, that's where it bugs me, because I know that's not how you improve. Like, I think my first weapon was, I was too afraid to draw like a frost laser. My first sprite was a frost laser, which are still in Multiverse, but obviously they look very different now. I was too afraid to draw a frost laser, because I didn't really, you know, obviously it was my first weapon, and I was too afraid of it looking bad. So what I did is I just took a burst 1 from vanilla, took colorize, and basically just did this. I just made it blue with colorize, and then I took a crystal projectile from vanilla and just slapped it on top. And I called that a frost laser, because I thought that if I just cut corners with that kind of like splice art style, that I would have a better result than if I tried something from scratch. And let me tell you, if I tried from scratch, it would have looked a lot better, because my first from scratch weapon was like infinitely better, which was a conservative laser. A lot of my old weapon ideas did eventually actually end up in Multiverse, which is pretty cool. I guess I was something of an idea person when it came to stuff. Not that, I mean, prior to hyperspace, there wasn't even, I mean, even with hyperspace, there's not a ton of things you can do with weapons. I guess Lua opened the gates for that, like in the new TRC update that I released, which was a lot of fun drawing those weapons. That update, there's a lot of wacky Lua shenanigans, like the shrapnel missiles and the bedazzler and stuff like that. The lava gun. If you haven't played TRC 2.0, here's my shameless plug, which I'm allowed to do because A, this is my channel, and B, I'm the former lead dev of Multiverse, so, you know, I mean, is it really even a plug at that point? If it's just, like, basically DLC for Multiverse? I guess my point is, never be so afraid that effort is going to make what you draw look worse, that you intentionally put less effort into it, as if it's going to be wasted somehow, because that's how you never improve, or at least improve very slowly. Cutting corners is never the way to go. Until you're a professional and you're doing it as a job, and then cut corners all the time, because boss makes dollar, I make dime. That's why I draw FTL weapons on company time. Which I'm not in company time right now. But, you know, I couldn't think of a way to end that joke. This is probably painfully boring. I'm sorry. I don't know if the narration is going to help. Unfortunately, I can't really do like a time lapse of me drawing the weapon like I did with the previous video, because then my narration wouldn't make any sense at all. But I don't know if I'm being painfully boring right now or not, so hopefully not. Yeah, I mean, eventually, it just, I don't know, becomes mindless, drawing these, which is why, you know, I just play a video in the background. Don't really worry about it that much. You just kind of let the ideas come. Let's see here. The main things when you're drawing like missiles like this is you want this kind of like crevice area on the sides. This is for multiverse missiles specifically, and obviously there are exceptions, like the Hades over here has just kind of this middle bit. So it's not an absolute rule, but as a general rule of thumb, you have this kind of like central column. You have like the two crevices on the side, and then you have more columns on the edges, which you can kind of imagine as if it almost had like a 4D symmetry, like here on the Hermes. Here, it's not really going for 4D symmetry, or four-way symmetry, not four-dimensional. Have the crevices, the columns, and once I would recommend, if you're starting out, to not go anything too crazy. Don't try to draw like a new, I mean, if you want to, I mean, go for it, but if you're aiming for, if you're trying to learn especially, I would recommend draw some generic weapons. If you have like a really good idea in your head, then I would say go for it. but at the same time I know how painful it can be to have an idea that's ambitious and then to start trying to draw it and it turns out kind of hot garbo, because you just haven't yet reached the point where you can put an idea like that to, like, well, not pen to paper, but mouse to screen, stylus to screen, whatever. Which I'm using a mouse right now. I know in some art circles that's heresy, but for pixel art, I don't think there's anything wrong with a mouse. Color picking is key. Just lots and lots of color picking. Never just try to guess. Like, never just, okay, I'll just grab the lighter shade. This will work. No, don't do that. If you want to use like a custom color palette, in fact, I will give this mistle a custom color palette. Let's say I want to make it, I don't know, make it like a purplish color. So I'm gonna grab a color. You don't want anything too saturated for FTL. I'm gonna color pick. Make sure I don't do those on accident. Fill. Okay, this is a question I get a lot if people are making art. Is how do I pick the next color? Like, how do I pick like the lighter shade? I'm gonna be honest, this is what I say every time. There's no method to it. It's just, you want to pick something that's not, so I take the color picker, pull this open, get it, try that. If you take fill bucket, you can do fill whole selection, and that will fill all of your selection, by the way. So here, I think that contrasts too much. So I'm gonna slide it over a bit. There we go. And then it's fine if the darker shades contrast more, I think. That's just kind of something I have to avoid those. Yeah. Okay, and then I want those colors to remain structural. Oh, don't forget to set it back to fill similar colors. I'm going to leave those as like the structural colors. Okay. It has dawned on me, I forgot to do lights on this, so I'm going to add some. Light there. Light there. I guess like there. Yeah. I guess I'll do another light there. Okay. So I have the lights laid out like that. Now it comes. I'm not sure what this purple color. I'm going to change the purple. If you want to change, there's two ways you can do recolors. If you want to like keep the same contrast for the colors, I could do hue saturation. I don't want it to be too much like the stun colors. Something like that, maybe. That looks fine. I would normally do that for most weapons, but just as like a tutorial, I guess. Okay, so when it comes to the mount for missile weapons, I always do it last. That's a rule. You don't need to do it last, just that's how I usually do it. As you'll notice, I always give them some kind of like band, and I oftentimes give them the band being like this bit here, that bit, that bit. I usually also give them like a thing at the end, like that. Again, not rules, just a thing that I do just because I just got into the habit of doing it. And no particular method to the madness here. It's just kind of draw some shapes. Another thing for, I would say this goes beyond even FTL. You really want to avoid like 1.5 pixel outlines. Like you don't want to do that as the outline for something. That just looks bad. If you want a sharp corner, you can do it if you want to have like kind of like square edges. But I would reserve that only for like specific weapons. Like here, you know, this is a sharp edge here. If I got rid of that edge pixel, then that makes it kind of round, which I think looks worse. So you can do stuff like that when it fits, but you want to avoid that when you can. You ultimately kind of want the edge to be flat. It doesn't need to be perfectly flat, obviously. It rarely is. In fact, I think it looks worse when it is. But first off, when you're drawing mounts, keep in mind that for most weapons, you won't even be able to see them on most ships. So it's a lot of detail that is basically wasted. Now, on some ships, you can see it more than others. And also, again, you know, just don't cut corners, because I think it's just good practice for shading, especially to do these parts. But you know, you don't need to go like anything too crazy. Like you don't need to draw like a fan, like some kind of like cooling system or like tubes or anything. You can just do something real basic that gets the point across. For the mount, sometimes I shade part way while drawing. A lot of times I don't, though. Here I'm gonna just kind of get. If you're wondering like how do I determine like which one of these are lighter than others, how do I decide like okay this panel here is going to be this color, but this panel here is going to be the darker color? It's just again just no method really. It's just what I think looks best. And I might change it, like I might say, okay, maybe, I think here this looks good, but if I draw a bit, I'm like, okay, that should be darker, then I'll make it darker. Never be afraid to go and make edits while you're drawing. In fact, I might want to do something kind of like, maybe, I'm just feeling a little undecorated. Yeah, I think that adds a little something to it, I guess. Yeah. Do I want to make it darker? I might. Okay. So, have this here. Actually, no, I want to do that, yeah. Okay, I think that maybe a little shorter. There we go. I don't know, maybe I'm hoping, obviously the point of this video is to be helpful. maybe also interesting. I can manage to think of more things to say. But I don't know how many people are going to get out of this video, or how many people are going to see this video and get something out of it. I could, in theory, do one for drawing a ship. I know not irregularly people do like ship art streams, like R4 does some on the multiverse server, which a stream might be better for entertainment purposes for a ship drawing session, but I could do one for that. I was never like the lead ship artist for multiverse, whereas I drew most of the weapons. I would say Lace probably drew almost certainly drew most of the multiverse ships, and she's very good at it. I can draw the occasional decent ship, but definitely not. Don't compare. Okay. So now, I would say that's good. Good enough for this. Copy it. So this time I'm not going to have a charge glow. I'm going to do a charging animation. Very simple. The lights are just going to turn red one at a time. Boop. Boop, boop. Boop. Probably do one more weapon after this one. Maybe a bomb, maybe a beam. There's so many different weapon types. FTL. It's hard to pick. You might notice when I pick the green, I just kind of eyeball it. That's because no one's gonna notice the like slightly different saturation. You just want to go in the middle of the green and then max green. So yeah. Missile animations, fortunately, are very, very simple. Usually they don't even have a charging animation. So you have the charged frame here, and you have the firing frame, and that's it. Just the same frame, no special animation, very simple, very easy, very nice. Missiles are definitely one of the easier weapons to draw. You don't have to worry about moving parts. They're fairly blocky, you don't have like complex geometry. Yeah. So now we're going to do an image, crop the content, and there you go. So there's our missile. Cluster, missile. Okay. Let me look at, let's see, what other weapons? This is the 5.4 files. So I'm trying not to spoil anything. We don't think I'm going to accidentally do that, but that would suck if I did. Actually, let me just open comparison page. Let me open my bomb sheet. I'm going to put that. Here we go. So here's my bomb comparison sheet. All the bombs on here. Bombs are one of my favorite weapon types to draw, just because you can get really wacky with them. So I'm gonna draw a bomb. Let's see, what's a bomb type I could do? Maybe like, I'm gonna draw a bomb that deploys a human, I guess. Because why not? Let me grab basic bomb, and let me grab also. I guess the deployment bomb. Grab the arachno bomb, deployment bomb from TRC. Because they're similar. Obviously, when I post these, I mean, people aren't forced to use them how I intended them. They can do whatever they want with them. But I just kind of think the idea of a human bomb is funny. I don't really know how to approach such a concept. So this might just end up being a weird bomb. I don't know if I'm gonna specifically make it anything too wacky, because I don't really know what a human bomb would look like. I guess whatever I want to draw is what it looks like. For bombs, with the multiverse redesign for bombs, you have the two panels, the middle part, the little base with an icon. You can notice almost every bomb has an icon, little British flag, star thing, like the Black Widow thing, just a little like target reticle thing, like a crystal gem. This was like kind of like a wrench kind of thing. Plus, a lot of times they're just like basic shapes, like a star, orange circle, whatever. That was kind of just a thing because a lot of times it's not like immediately obvious. There's that little extra bit of color. Obviously, like the spider bomb, super obvious what it does. This is probably my favorite weapon design I've ever done. But like this, I mean, obviously this one's basic, but like a lot of these you wouldn't really know. So just that little extra splash of color helps it stand out. Bombs, I always start with panels, because that's the most like identifiable part. Maybe kind of like, here's a better idea than a human bomb. Let's do like an acid bomb that, I don't know, just like drops acid or something. A little tidbit, I guess. I kind of view bombs as like, Into the Breach, there's like, you know, the scions, and how they have like different effects, and they're all kind of the same, but they have different colors. I know it really doesn't have anything to do with bombs, but whenever I'm drawing a bomb for multiverse, I just think of the scions, and then I view like the TRC ones kind of like the ITB like AE bombs, or the scions. They added like the weird like spider scion, which is like, I don't know what subset was thinking with that one. I mean, as like #1 spider fan, I'm not complaining. It's just, you know, in vanilla Into the Breach you have very like standard, you know, oh, this one this makes enemies regenerate health. This gives enemy a bit more health. This makes them not take damage. And then in AE you get ones like, well, now enemies create spiders when they die, which I don't know. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's advanced edition. It has grown on me, the new like squads and advanced edition Into the Breach, but I will admit that it was not immediately my favorite update. I play Into the Breach every now and then. I still don't ever play with with AE enemies. The regular enemies, they're not terrible. The ones that create like the explosive rocks can go fuck themselves. But the bosses that AE adds, they're so bad. They're not fun. A lot of the new missions are weird. The armored train, frankly, should be the default train mission. Because fuck the train mission. But the squads are cool, and the mechs are the new pilots are fun. Adam is kind of lame, but the other 3 pilots are all cool. If not extremely overpowered, which they are. Kind of wish they added more secret squads or secret pilots in Advanced Edition. Like even one. Like I think about like if they added other FTL races. I know people have done mods, but I don't really play Into the Breach with mods much. Which I know I actually don't play a lot of games with mods, which I know must seem very weird, given that this is given who I am. I think about if they added like other FTL races, like if they added like slugs, like maybe like they could predict which Vec is going to spawn next turn. Issue with that is I don't know how the game handles Vec spawning. I don't think it's deterministic. It might be. I guess it probably is, because if you like, you can't like re-roll it. I don't think you can. So you probably could predict it. I don't know, crystals could be kind of like the one, I can't remember the enemy names. The one that creates like the rocks around it. You have a crystal one that does that. I don't know how bound. I don't know if that would be probably shit, to be honest. I don't think that'd be very good. It's an idea. This is why I don't mod Into the Breach, because I haven't spent like way too long studying its design in horrid detail. Let's see here. For those of you who don't know, I am studying game design in college, so if you haven't heard the news, I am working on a new, I have retired as lead dev for Multiverse, and I'm working on a new game with a couple former Multiverse devs, like More or Lesser, Lathe, Chrono Vortex is also helping, Maddie's doing music, maybe Squishy, we're not sure yet, but he has expressed interest, so you might maybe see a return of Squishy for that. But it's called Basilisk. That's just a, I don't know if people read it, because I know FTL players and reading is an oxymoron, but Basilisk is just a like a placeholder name. Maybe, I mean, we might use it, but we're thinking. So by the time we go like really serious into advertising it, we'll have the actual name. But for now, it's called Basilisk, and it is connected to Multiverse, and I'm very excited about it. Hopefully it's cool. There might be more news about that coming soon. Maybe. So keep your ears peeled, or eyes peeled, because it's the internet. That's it. It's actually not our first game idea, but our first game idea was like too ambitious, and so, because obviously Basilisk is our first attempt at like a commercial game. So obviously we don't expect it to be bad, but it's, you know, like kind of a trial run. Kind of like how I guess Undertale was Toby Fox's trial run to see if he could make Deltarune, which if you didn't know that was the case with that, which is interesting. And there's in the Multiverse Discord, there is a teaser channel that you can subscribe to updates for Basilisk. If that's something you're interested in. you wonder I'm not saying what it is, that's because it's a very secret project right now. Besides the fact that it exists. So, and I mean, it'll probably be like that a lot for a long time, but we'll probably eventually reveal, you know, more details about what the game actually is like. Yeah. With the bombs, I'm not sure how I feel about this top here. When it comes to bombs, main thing is like these antennae at the top. I feel like in my later bomb designs, I started getting too complicated with the antennae, trying to like make them all fancy and weird. They don't need to be. In fact, frankly, they shouldn't. So I'm gonna maybe try and step back a bit. I always forget to put the lights on these damn things. And then I struggle to find a spot that actually put the lights. So, step one when you're trying a weapon is to not forget the lights. Like I always do. I always thought it was funny that for those who don't read the Multiverse Discord regularly, or just discourse that I'm involved in, I am not a fan of RNG in video games, and I'm not a fan of a lot of roguelikes. I've always contended that roguelikes don't need to rely on RNG to be fun. RNG can come in a lot of different forms. RNG being like random number generation, which is how video games are randomized because computers can't actually do random, like true random. You know, there's player positive RNG, there's player negative RNG, and there's player neutral RNG. And so player neutral is like stuff like randomized map generation or stored loot, stuff like that. I have no issue with that, with an asterisk, that can be fucked up, but just like as an inherent attribute, there's nothing wrong with that. And I do think that's important for roguelikes. That's where RNG is essential for roguelikes, because every run should be different. But player positive is, for example, in FTL, I'll use Into the Breach as an example. Player positive would be like, you affect attacks, you expect that you lose grid health, but instead you resist. That's player positive. You expect something bad to happen, but something happens that benefits the player instead. Player negative is evasion, enemy evasion in FTL. You shoot your projectile, and it misses. You expect it to hit, but it doesn't. Personally, I think player negative is always bad. I know that's a controversial opinion, but I think that's not fun or fair, and it's just artificial difficulty. I would play FTL if there was no evasion. I would prefer FTL with no evasion, and that's why evasion is as neutered as possible in Multiverse. But when it comes to, I just realized I made this. When it comes to bombs, you'll see why later, but you want them to be even or odd numbered pixels. You'll see why later. You don't want them to be even numbered. So if you catch yourself doing that on accident, make sure you fix it before it's too late. But regarding RNG, that's why some of my favorite roguelikes are like Spelunky, which is the only RNG pretty much is the map. Hades, which I know it's a roguelite, but it's still roguelite, who cares? It's basically the same genre. Hades is very good. Again, you know, there's some player positive RNG, which, like, whatever, I don't really care. I don't think it's amazing design, but it's not bad in that game. stuff like the dodge chance, like Hermes, whatever. But I think oftentimes people say that, oh, roguelikes are supposed to be unfair, or they're supposed to be really random, and I don't think that's true, because you get games like Into the Breach, which, yeah, it's not as replayable as FTL, which I don't think has anything to do with the RNG. I think a lot of that is that it doesn't have like a lot of store options, and like I don't think anyone really ever buys things in stores. Into the Breach, it's kind of just it's almost too well designed in terms of like the synergies of the starting squads, to the point where like extra equipment almost like hinders you, which is why I think it has less replayability, because FTL there's like such a variety of different weapons and stuff that all like play well together. Usually kind of vanilla has its issues with that, but it's besides the point. But I still think Into the Breach is a lot of fun, and one of the big reasons is like the only major RNG mechanic in the game, in terms of like player neutral and player positive, is grid resist, which sucks. Anyone who's ever played Into the Breach knows that grid resist can never be counted on, and it's super unreliable, but it doesn't really hinder the game, even if I think it would be better without it, frankly. But I don't know why I'm making this bomb so long. I'm kind of just autopiloting here because I'm talking. But this bomb is like comedically long. I'll try to shrink it a bit. It's a big boy, that's for sure. Yeah, I guess put less RNG in games, especially games with permadeath. It's not fun, in my opinion, and it's not real difficulty. That's like Captain's Edition. I know I'm not going to spend forever bitching about Captain's Edition like I always do. But I've seen people say it's not that hard. In fact, I find it easier than vanilla. Which, I mean, it is a lot harder. But the reason why it can feel easier than vanilla is because where Captain's Edition's primary difficulty comes from is an over-reliance on random number generation. RNG-based events, which, because it's all RNG, you aren't guaranteed that you're going to find the quarantine sector and have your best boarding crew die just for jumping to a beacon with no former warning. But it can happen, and there's just so much of that that it makes the game really difficult most of the time, but because it is all RNG, there are also times when the game is piss easy, which, if the point of your game is to be hard, then why is that how you're making it hard? Because that's not a healthy way to design your game, in my opinion. So, yeah. But I think that's the original point of this ramble. It's kind of funny that FTL is the game, because I like FTL a lot, obviously. I wouldn't spend so much time modding the game if I didn't enjoy it. But as you can tell from the way Multiverse is designed, had I made FTL, it would have been a lot different. Not that Multiverse is perfect, or even really 100% aligns with how I would have made the game myself, because like I can't really remove evasion, and I do have to somewhat cater to what other players want, because not everyone wants evasion completely removed. This bomb looks good. It's a weird one. It's not like anything I've drawn before, but I think it looks good. So, we'll go with this. So, I'm going to explain more steps of the bomb, so let me finish my thoughts real quick. So, when it comes to games, FTL is not really like the kind of game that I would like typically play. It was like the second game I ever got on the computer. It was a gift from my brother. What the hell is the... Oh, here it is. Blind. I have a lot of nostalgia for it, and obviously I do think it's fun, but I don't think vanilla is infinitely replayable, that some people treat it as, and I don't think necessarily it's the kind of game that I would typically play a whole lot. I don't play a ton of roguelikes. A lot of roguelikes I don't like, especially the ones that are really cruel. I think FTL is generally fair enough to the player, with some odd ends here and there that it never gets like too salt-inducing. I usually prefer like story-based games. My favorite game is Portal 2. It's just not similar to FTL at all, really. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of funny that FTL is the game that I ended up dedicating so much of my life to. So okay, so anyways, that ramble over. Bomb time. Let's finish this thing, and then I'm done rambling. So, put the lights there. So here's the thing about bombs. As you can see, they shrink, and then they have like the light that goes down. Because they shrink, the width of the frame is going to decrease. As you can see if I move this over, now there's an extra pixel there. Now there's 2 extra pixels there. So you want to make sure that you're spacing them right, because every frame has to be the same width on the canvas. So, in fact I made a mistake there. Make sure you don't just put things edge to edge, because like these pixels actually go past these, so it actually needs to line up like this. So I'm going to grab that, scoot it over. So this is going to take 2 frames to collapse. Yeah, so I'm going to grab a third one, like that. And you'll see why I'm doing that there, even though it only takes 2. It's gonna... This is the painful part. The bomb. So fun to draw the bomb shape. So painful to do the rest. You just kind of gotta go at it like this, scoot it in. Make sure you don't grab any pixels that aren't actually part of the like side thingies. And you're gonna notice it's gonna create some abnormalities like this. Don't worry about that. We're gonna come back and fix that. And so this is why we made it even, or God, I keep saying even. This is why we made it odd, because it's gonna collapse so that it lines up on the same pixel. See what I mean in a minute. I'm just gonna make sure I do this right. Hopefully, I guess I eventually found something interesting to talk about, at least interesting for me. I'm hoping the beginning of the video isn't so horribly boring that people never get to the end, because I think of the weapons I drew, so this is my favorite of them. Of course it's a bomb, so of course it's my favorite. Okay, so step 1, fix the shading in there. Step 2, we're going to fix these abnormalities. So this goes down. Make sure when you're drawing the weapon, or the bomb specifically, you don't make the mount or the antennae at the top too weird so that it would accidentally not line up anymore as the bomb shrinks. I have done that before, and it sucks, because it's like, well, either I have to go back and fix it all, or I just have to deal with the fact that now it looks weird. Okay, so this one is funky. I'm going to actually change this just so it doesn't make it too weird, because you'll see why. I'm going to just make it like that. Very different from the usual bombs I do, which is fine. I said, if you have a cool idea, then it ends up looking cool, then there's nothing wrong with that. You can definitely do some weird, wild, exotic designs. Okay, so see how now it lines up like that? So now I don't have to worry about the little stripe that goes down. So now I'm going to, so see how now there's all this extra space at the edges. That's why we laid these out early, so that we don't actually, oh wait, hold on. So we don't accidentally make the mistake of spacing them wrong. So I'm going to delete the top part of this, and then copy the top part of this, move it over. Oh, hold on. Sure, I can just copy the whole thing. Fix those 2 pixels there. Okay. So now, don't worry about the glows till the end. Grab that. 4. See how 4 works. No, sorry. Don't do that yet. Don't do the line yet. What we're gonna do is we're gonna copy and paste these, a whole bunch. Since these are the same frame, they are going to space correctly if you copy them and lay them on top of each other. That way you can make sure that the spacing works. Make sure that you start on the right frame. It's not this one, it's this one. It's the second one like this. 2, 3, 4. And copy that. So how I do it typically is it moves down by 2 each time. So I'm going to go there. 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, oh, and not enough frames. As you can see, bomb animations are really long. Just copy those 2. Kind of looks like a face, I guess. Kind of like teeth and eyes. I'm hoping someone finds a use for this, maybe. Like the actual sprites. 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Is it gonna work out? I think it does. Perfect. 1, 2. That was not like a master plan on my part, having it start at the top and match up at the top, moving at a consistent pace. It just worked out that way. I'm glad it selected. So these last frames, I'm going to delete the top. I'm going to come back. I think, I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. I'm going to come back to the earlier frames. And I'm going to grab this frame. So it's first, it's the final closed frame. And then the second open frame. Oh, did I not? Hold on. I didn't copy enough. Put this over. Oh, I need to fix the shading here. GIMP has so many weird brushes. I don't get why it has so many like mean brushes. Like it has like the bell pepper brush. Like this is just a thing that GIMP has. No idea why. I don't think that has any practical use. I think that's just a meme, but maybe it has a use. I don't know. Final frame. Okay. Now we're going to turn the lights off. So finally, color select the green. These little things on the side are meant to be like acid tubes. I don't know if that was obvious, but they're not lights. Oh, well, hold on. First, delete these. And see how I used the same spacing and then I pasted the final frames in. Because the final frame is also the first frame, which isn't necessary, but I do it because when I crop the content, it's going to be the right size. So that's why I end on the first frame rather than the second frame, which I could if I wanted to. Color select the green. I'm going to color select the white. And I'm going to go into my bomb thing. Wait, did I not? Oh shit, that doesn't have. I realized it doesn't have the blue. Damn. Okay, I can. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just grab that general color. And for this color, I always do. For this glow, I always do 5. And then I make sure I have this frame selected. Over here in the layers brushes. If you don't have this this like toolkit over here, let's say you don't have it, you can go to Windows, Recently Closed Docs, and then do that, and it'll come back. So make sure you have the layer over here selected for the glow. And do Control A to select everything. Control C to copy and then paste, and that just makes it a bit brighter. And yeah, so there's our bomb. Acid bomb. And real quick, before we finish, do the charge glow. So you feel the red, resize it, select the red, Control I, invert, do that. Drop shadow, red, 3 blur radius, and there's our glow. Acid bomb glow. And yeah, there we go. So there is a weapon. Well, there's 3 weapons, I guess. So like I said, I'll post these in the shipyard for anyone who's on the Discord and wants to use these for anything. Hopefully this video helps people, and hopefully it's entertaining to some extent. And yeah, that's all. So yeah.